Freddie Mercury. He is Freddie Mercury. He used to make good music, but he sing a passed away. He was born in Zanzibar on September 5, 1944. Although he liked to sing at first, he wasn't successful. He was singer when he was introduced to Roger Taylor and Brian May, they created the band Queen. Shortly after he joined Freddie Mercury. In the end, joined the band was John Deacon. His occupation were singer, composer, pianist, graphic designer, and musician. The musical genre that he sang and played the most was rock. His great hits are Somebody to Love, Bohemian Rhapsody, Love of My Life, Radio Gaga, Don't Stop Me Now, We Will Rob You, I Want to Break Free, Another One Bites the Dust, and Where Are the Champions? He have been in 13 tours for 3 decades with 77 shows in all. Freddie Mercury passed away on November 24, 1991 because he was terminally ill. I have heard his music and the sing very strong. I like much. Have you heard yet?
Amy Winehouse has born in the Ponders, England, to Jersey family. Amy grew up in a house where jazz was a pretty song branch of music. Amy was to receive as a woman. He goes into a dance academy at age 18. She secreted a rap duo. However, Amy didn't like to walk about it. Amy continued to enter drama school. However, she was expelled due to her rebellious personality, especially since she got a nose piercing. Later, at 16, she met her first boy. Important part speaking of his artistic career. This now he releases his first album called Frank. In 2004, Amy bought a house in a not so pretty neighborhood. At the time began to approach drugs. Amy was generating addiction, while was also starting an affair with a man named Blake. A drug is a started with no other problems such as anorexia and bulimia, things that was affecting his career. Through his process, she characterized her new album called Back to Back. This began to affect her sentient always. He cancelled his show sometimes. He didn't come affecting his career. In 2009 arrives and he has already divorced. Blake began to get into drug and alcohol scandals. In his shows, he was completely drugged. Around 3 p.m., his bodyguard wanted to wake her up, but at that moment he realized that she was dead. Y ya.
Bob Marley. Who was Bob Marley? Was a Jamaican singer, songwriter, and musician. Considered one of the pioneers of reggae, his musical career was marked by fusing elements of reggae, ska, and rocksteady. Over the course of his career, Marley became known as a Rastafari icon and influenced his music with sense of spirituality. He is considered a global symbol of Jamaican music and of culture and identity. Was controversial in this outspoken support for the legalization of marijuana. Bibliography. Robert Nesta Marley was born on 60 February 1945 at the farm of his maternal grandfather in 9 Mile, St. Ann Parish, Jamaica, to Norval St. Clair Marley and Cedaya Michael. In 1963, Bob Marley, Bunny Wilder, Peter Tosh were carried the teenagers. They later changed the name to the Wailing Rudeboys, then to the Wailing Wilders. Though raised as a Catholic, Marley became interested in Rastafari belief in the 60s when away from his mother influence. He is dead. In July 1977, Marley was found to have a type of malignant melanoma under the nail of a toe. 1980. He collapsed while young in Central Park, was taken to the hospital where it was found that his cancer had spread. He died on 11 May 1981. I had 36 due to the spread of melanoma to his lungs and brain. His final word to his son psychic were money can't buy life. Marley as was given a state funeral in Jamaica on 21 May 1981, which combined elements of Ethiopian Orthodoxy and Rastafari tradition. His voice was omnipresent, scream in our electronic world. His sharp features, majestic looks, and punching style are vivid, etching on the landscape of our minds. Bob Marley, he was an experience which left an indelible imprint with each encounter.
Jimi Hendrix. Information. Born November 27 in 1942 in Seattle, Washington, USA. Occupations: musician, songwriter, and producer. Died September 18, 90, no, 19, no, 1970, no, o sea, como sea, age 27 in Kingston, London, England. Instruments: guitar and vocals. Born in Seattle, Washington, Hendrix began playing guitar at the age of 15 in this church the following year. Soon afterward, he moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, and began playing gigs on the Chitlin circuit, earning place in the Isley Brothers Baking Band, and later with Little Richard, with whom he continued to work through mid 1965. He then played with Curtis Nine and the Squirrels before moving to England in the late 1966 after bassist Chas Chandler of Animals became his manager. Hendrix was inspired by American rock and electric blues. He favored overdriven amplifiers with high volume and gain, and went instrumental in popularity. The previously underslayed sounds caused by guitar amplified feedback. He was also one of the first guitarists to make extensive use tone altering effects units in mainstream rock, such as fuzz distortion, Octavia, and Univibe. He was the first musician to use stereophonic uh, placing effects in records. Hendrix was the recipient of several music awards during his lifetime, and posthumously in 1967, readers of Melody Maker voted him the Pop Musician of the Year, and in 1968, Billboard named him the Artist of the Year, and Rolling Stone declared him the Performer of the Year. All stars died young. Hendrix experienced his son vomit and died of asphyxia with intoxicated with barbiturates.
Whitney Houston. Who was Whitney Houston? She was an American singer and actress whose first 4 albums released between 1985 and 1992. Her albums had been amazing global sales in an excess of 86 million copies. She was born on August 9 of 1963 in Newark, New Jersey. Houston seemed designated since she was born to become a singer. Her mother and cousin used to be legendary figures in American gospel, soul, and pop music. Houston was an American pop singer and actress. The extraordinary voice of this beautiful singer always captivated everyone every time she appeared in public. Although she didn't have very promising beginnings, her producers, who were confident in her great talent, decided to wait for a propitious moment to launch her, conscientiously preparing an album that would end up being #1 in the US, called Whitney Houston. By the time she turned 15, Houston was performing often with her mother and trying to get a record deal of her own. She soon became an extremely sought-after teen model and one of the first African-American women to appear on the cover of Seventeen magazine, but she never left her music because it remains her true love. When she was 19, Houston was discovered in a nightclub by Arista Records' Cliff Davis, who signed her immediately and took the helm of her career as she navigated from gospel to pop stardom. In 1985, the artist released her debut album. Whitney Houston almost immediately became a smash pop sensation. Over the next year, her hit singles, Saving All My Love for You and How Will I Know, helped the album reach the top of the charts, where it stayed for 14 consecutive weeks. By 1992, Houston was on the top of the world, but her life was about to get very complicated very quickly. That year, she married the R&B singer Bobby Brown, formerly of New Edition, after a 3-year engagement. At first, the marriage was passionate and loving, but things turned sour as the decade progressed. Both Brown and Houston battled substance abuse and increasingly erratic behavior, with Houston later alluding to emotional abuse from Brown and domestic violence. Houston died at the age of 48 on February 11, 2012. The Los Angeles Coroner's Office announced that the official cause of the death of the singer was accidentally drowning. The investigation revealed that her heart problems and cocaine use also plays a role in her death. Houston was found submerged in a bathtub full of water inside a room at the Beverly Hilton Hotel in Los Angeles.
I tell you about Bruno Mars. Real name, Peter Jane Hernandez. He was born October 8, 1985, in Honolulu, Hawaii, United States. Occupations, singer, songwriter, music producer, student. Her father is from Puerto Rico and her mother from Hawaii. Bruno Mars began creating music from a very young age and performed of many stages in hometown throughout in his childhood for performing imitations. He graduated from high school and moved to Los Angeles to pursue his music career. His music is characterized by displaying a wide variety of styles and influences and contains elements of varied musical genres. He was worked with a variety of artists of different genres. He was acknowledges the influences his collaboration have had on his own music. Bruno Mars has won numerous awards and honors throughout his career, including 10 Grammy Awards. From 2015 to the present, the artist has been busy in different projects, such as his second participation in the Super Bowl show. The artist continues to collect hits since then occupy the first popularity positions with his songs and filling the place where present itself. And that's all. Thank you.